Hi and welcome to the fourth video lesson on surds. So by the end of this lesson we should be able to simplify by multiplying surds, and we should also be able to simplify by dividing surds. So let's start with multiplication. We already know that if we're multiplying two surds, then that is the same thing as taking the root of the product. So in this example we've got root 2 times root 3. That is going to be the same as the square root of 6. And we get a rule saying exactly that. So root a times root b is the same thing as saying the square root of a times b. So now let's try and use our knowledge by simplifying. So let's simplify root 12 times root 8. Now we can break root 12 up as being root 3 times root 4. And we can break the root 8 up by being root 4 times root 2. And we know that root 4 is going to turn into 2, so it'll be 2 root 3 times 2 root 2. And we can just multiply throughout. So we can actually rewrite this, because this is 2 times root 3 times 2 times root 2. And when you're multiplying throughout, you can actually just rearrange it like this. So we've got 2 times the square root of 2 times 3. So we've collected the roots, and we're multiplying those two together. So this is going to be 4 times the square root of 6, which is the simplified version of this here. There is also another way that you can do this. So we can take this term and we can actually just multiply the 12 and the 8 under the root, and that will be the square root of 96. And then we can use our simplification technique to find out the simplified version of root 96. So the tricky thing here is getting the perfect square. So the factors of 96, one of which is a perfect square. So just to save you a bit of time, it's going to be the root of 16 times 6. 16 is a perfect square, so we can split this up as root 16 times root 6. Root 16, 4, so it'll be 4 root 6. And we're back to the answer we got in the first method. So both methods can be used for simplifying a multiplication of surds. Here's another example. Simplify root 3, and then we've got in brackets root 2 plus 5 root 3. So we're going to distribute this root 3, and we're going to expand the bracket. So we've got root 3 times root 2 plus root 5 root 3 times this root 3. So there's a few things that we have to do here. First of all, let's sort this out. We know that root 3 times root 2 is the same thing as saying the root of 3 times 2. So that's going to be root 6 plus this right hand term here. Now we've got root 5 root 3 times root 3, so we can actually do it here. So root 3 times root 3 is the same thing as saying root 9, because 3 times 3. And look at this, we've got a perfect square here. Root 9 is just 3, so this is going to be 5 times 3 on this side, so root 6 times 5 times 3, plus 5 times 3, sorry, and that's going to be 15. So we've got root 6 plus 15. Okay, now let us have a look at division. Now the rules of division state that the square root of a divided by root b is the same thing as saying the root of a divided by b. So same as multiplication but for division. And again, we can also write this in as a quotient, so as a fraction. So we can say the square root of a over b is the same thing as saying the square root of a over the square root of b. So very important rule to remember. So let's have some examples. Root 10 divided by root 2, same thing as saying the square root of 10 divided by 2, which is root 5. Now let's use it in simplification. Simplify root 40 over root 5. Well, we can rewrite this as root 40 divided by 5, which is root 8. And we still have to simplify further, because root 8 is split up as root 4 root 2. Root 4 is the perfect square, so this comes to 2 root 2. Alright, and let's have another go. Let's simplify root 56 over root 7. So straight away we should recognise that we can say it's root 56 divided by 7, which would be root 8, and again root 8. It's crept up again. So root 4 root 2, which comes to 2 root 2. Root 8 comes up quite a lot, so often you could just take this root 8 and go straight to this when you do these often enough. Okay, let's have a go at this one. Root 24 over root 2 is 24 divided by 2, which is root 12. Split this up into root 4, root 3. Root 4, perfect square, which is 2 root 3. And that is the simplified version.